This is a quick demonstration of using the Spring Cloud Dataflow scaling API in combination with the Prometheus and Prometheus Alert Manager. Basically, we're going to leverage the partitioning and scaling of applications. If we have a simple application that is source, processor, and sync, we can implement auto-scaling adapter that would monitor for certain performance metrics of our running stream and would scale out or scale in our stream, which means adding additional application instances. I'm going to use a simple pipeline, times, transform, and log, where the transform is using a very particular expression, which is a math expression, in order to emulate more heavy CPU usage applications. So without further ado, let's deploy this stream. Everything is running on Kubernetes on Google Cloud environment. You can see that immediately three applications, the time, transform, and log, are being deployed. This would take a while. The expected output. Now we can jump to the metrics integrated monitoring. And indeed, we can see that we already have some logs and metrics arriving for the three components, three applications, the time, the log, and the transform. As you can see, the average throughput, average like 1 message per second. This is the top. Next thing, we would try to stress this stream, increasing the load on the timer, practically changing the rate that time generates timestamp messages, and hopefully this would put some pressure on the transform processor that performs these expensive exponential math operations, and see how this would in turn trigger the auto-scaling event, adding additional transform instances in order to cope with this additional load. I'm going to change the rate of the time application. For this, I'm going to update this stream, and instead of performing 1 operation per second, we're going to change the dimension to make it microseconds, the time units, which internally would actually increase to a couple of thousand messages per second. The time actually is almost 800, and the transformer is starting to catch up, still coping with the time generation rate. Everything is configured as a Prometheus alert rule. So this is our scale out alert, practically dividing the average throughput of the time components minus the average throughput of the transform application. And once this the difference is bigger than 500 for minute, it will trigger the scale out event, which in turn would use the Spring Dataflow scale API to scale out the transform applications count. The scale out event has appeared, and our webhook has instructed Dataflow to span 3 additional transform instances. You can see we have 4 instances now, 3 additional being deployed to our stream. All 4 application instances now are operational, and we can see their effect here. So they start already to take some of the load, which eventually would mean that immediately our log sync application started to improve. So the output throughput on our stream is already 1,500 operation per second, while the input produces something like 5K. The transform and the log are gradually starting to catch up with the time components. Let's now do the opposite and actually reduce the input load. Return it to something like 1 operation per second. How to expect that the time would drop from 5,000 operations to 1 operation per second roughly. So drastically reduce the input load. And eventually this would lead to scale in event, or practically removing the additional instances of transform.